a lot of times I ask my students, what do you have faith in? And they think like faith is about like believing in these doctrines, like that Jesus Christ is Lord, that Jesus died on the cross to forgive your sins. So they have these like different beliefs, but then when I talk about faith, it is disembodied. It's removed from any kind of reality. In order to birth the divine now and carry through that, there has to be that trust, that deep trust, in order to not abandon your wife because she's pregnant with another person's baby. That's a lot of trust to go through with this, right? Or to be guided by angels to a place so that you will see the divine born in this manger. That takes a lot of trust, and we can believe anything. We can believe in Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, unicorns, whatever. Essentially, those things don't matter in our lives, at least not to me. Now, what does matter in my life is, if I trust the people in whom I love, or if they could really, essentially, if they could trust me with who they are in my life. And it's that kind of vulnerable relationship, that's kind of trusting relationship that we're always invited to in this kingdom. So that when Mary picks up Jesus and looks into Jesus' eyes, that little baby Jesus, she's seeing the divine in that baby, but she's seeing also the divine in her, right? She's able to give birth to this person. She's not, again, this teenage girl who's like chattel, property. She's made in this divine image. So here in this Advent story, we get that invitation to be, in that vulnerable community and communion with the divine and with others. It's waiting, and yeah, not all relationships will work out, but it's that trust and that give, and almost where the most painful times will birth again that beauty and that joy later. You can't have one without the other. You can't have joy without the pain. You can't have the love without that kind of trust, without that kind of faith. So the most vulnerable thing that a guy could do is become a little baby. To have flesh, to be able to bleed, to be able to cry, to need someone. That's why I go back to the idea like Jesus needs us. Jesus was raised depending upon not only Mary for his sustenance, to be fed, to have his diapers changed or whatever, however they did that back then, but he depended on Joseph to raise him, and then his community, his aunts and uncles, his village. If it's anything like a Vietnamese family, his aunts and uncles raised him too. He had many people who he depended on. So for God to decide to do that, is that great act of love to experience somewhat what we've experienced. And so how do we birth ourselves like that? How do we go from our power to places where we could be open and depend on people and love and cherish what they have to offer us, to suckle on, the breasts of of everyone in our lives, and that's a hard thing. I think for people of color, especially, where we've been the vulnerable people in the United States. It's very hard, but a lot of African Americans, and I see my black friends who like every day they get up and they go to their jobs, and they are that in the world, and they show up, and they're school teachers, they're truck drivers, they're pastors. They put themselves out there, not just for themselves or their families, but for all of humanity. They reflect to me that there is goodness in this earth, in this order that we have. I mean, some people can look at the world and see chaos, see like disunity, see sin, but I see this world as a world of goodness, as a world of openness, of a world that is giving, not because I come to these like philosophical conclusions, but because of my friends who, even though they've been treated in these ways that I've not experienced in my life, maybe a small fraction of it, they still are open and loving and giving, and because deep down they see this goodness that can come, and the goodness permeates who they are and reflects out. And so again, coming back to this Advent story of God, not needing to be involved in God's creation, is intimately involved to the point where God can bleed and cry and need and even be killed. That's that absolute sense of openness to whatever life has to offer. And in a sense, that openness is because, or is not because, God sees us and sees crap, but sees us and sees
potential worshipers,
potential tithe givers, but sees goodness in the relationship that God can have with us. Jesus, who smiles with us and laughs with us and eats with us and becomes part of the conversation and like tells jokes and does all these things. It's that kind of God and divinity that we see in that Advent story, that openness, that faith, the idea that God can have faith. That's pretty remarkable.